At the end of the Inferno, Dante and Virgil do not exit through a gate. They climb down Satan's body, pass through the center of the earth, and emerge on the other side into open air. The first thing Dante sees is stars. He has not seen them since the poem began. In hell, nothing moves. The damned are fixed in their punishments for eternity. Nothing changes, nothing can be done. Purgatorio is the opposite. Every soul here is moving, slowly, carrying weight, struggling upward, but moving toward something certain. The destination is not in doubt, only the pace is. Purgatorio is built on a mountain, the only landmass in the southern hemisphere in Dante's cosmology, formed when Satan's fall displaced the earth. 9 terraces spiral upward, each corresponding to one of the sins. The souls here are not punished, they are purged. The difference matters more than it first sounds. In hell, the sin defines you permanently. In Purgatorio, the sin is something you are still carrying, not something you have become. The souls know they will reach the summit. They know it will end. That knowledge changes the entire quality of what they endure. It is still hard. It is not hopeless. Not. Here is what almost every summary of Purgatorio skips. The time each soul spends on the mountain is not fixed. It is not a sentence handed down at death and served without variation. The pace of the climb responds to something outside the soul entirely, something that the living, right now, still control. If someone on earth prays for a soul in Purgatorio, that soul moves faster. Dante describes it not as comfort, but as a mechanical transaction. Prayer accelerates the dead. The mountain is not a solitary climb. It is a journey the living and the dead make together, across the boundary of death itself. Souls ask Dante to carry messages back to the living, not out of sentiment. The request is operational. Tell my family to pray for me. It will actually help. Dante is the only living person in the comedy. Every soul with unfinished business presses a request on him. He becomes a courier between 2 worlds, still in conversation. At the base of the mountain, Dante meets Casella, a musician, a friend from Florence, dead for years. Dante tries to embrace him. His arms pass through air. Casella sings one of Dante's own love poems back to him. The entire mountain stops to listen. Then an angel arrives and scolds them all for lingering. Even beauty is a delay here. He also meets Belacqua, a Florentino friend known for extraordinary laziness in life. He sits curled in the shade, arms around his knees, entirely unbothered. He has to wait at the base as long as he delayed his repentance on earth, unless prayer shortens it. Dante laughs. It is the only genuine laugh in the entire comedy. The first terrace is pride. Souls carry enormous stone slabs on their backs, bent double. Pride lifts the head, so the head is forced down. Carved into the ground beneath their feet are images of humility, which they can only see because they are bent over. The punishment teaches as it purges. Every terrace follows the same structure, carved into the rock, examples of the sin at its worst, pride that destroyed kings, envy that murdered brothers, carved alongside, examples of the opposite virtue. The souls are not simply enduring purification. They are being shown, repeatedly and in detail, what they should have been. The second terrace is envy. Souls sit with their eyelids sewn shut with iron wire. They spent their lives seeing through the eyes of comparison, measuring everything by what others had, unable to perceive their own lives directly. Now they cannot see at all. They learn to listen to voices they ignored before. The third terrace, wrath. Dante walks through smoke so dense he cannot see his own hand. The wrathful move through it slowly, reciting prayers. They lived inside the fog of their own anger, blind to everything outside it. Here the fog is made real. They walk through it until they no longer need it to navigate. As Dante climbs, Virgil explains sin in Purgatorio through a framework that did not appear in the Inferno. Every sin on the mountain is a distortion of love. Pride, envy, wrath, love turned inward, consuming itself. Sloth, love that failed to reach what deserved it. Avarice, gluttony, lust, love aimed at the wrong objects. The mountain recalibrates desire. Purgatorio contains something that exists in neither hell nor heaven. Dreams. Dante sleeps 3 times on the mountain and has 3 distinct visions, each one advancing the journey. Hell had no sleep. The damned have no rest. Heaven will have no night. Only in the place of transition does the mind keep working in the dark. On the terrace of gluttony, souls are starved beside a fruit tree whose branches bend away as they approach. They are gaunt, hollow-eyed. But Dante notices something. They are singing. The souls of the gluttons are the most visibly cheerful people on the entire mountain. Hunger has clarified something for them that abundance never could. The final terrace before the summit is lust, a wall of fire every soul must pass through to reach the Garden of Eden above. Dante stops at the fire and will not go in. Virgil tries philosophy, encouragement, reason. None of it works. Then Virgil says, "Beatrice is on the other side." Dante walks through. Step back from the terraces. Because the most radical idea in Purgatorio is not the architecture of the mountain or the logic of the punishments. It is something Dante states plainly, without fanfare. What the living do still affects the dead. The relationship doesn't end at death. It continues, and it is active. Some souls wait at the base of the mountain for a period equal to the time they spent delaying their repentance on earth. A man who postponed turning back to God for 30 years waits 30 years at the foot of the mountain before he can begin the climb. The procrastination is returned to him in full. But that wait can be shortened. Prayer from someone on earth reduces the delay. Dante is precise about this. It is not a metaphor for the comfort prayer brings to the grieving. It is a transaction. Prayer has a measurable effect on the pace of a soul's ascent. The living and the dead are on the same mountain. This is the oldest human question dressed in new architecture. Can we still do something for the dead? Is grief only for the mourner, or does it reach somewhere? Dante's answer is yes. Concretely, structurally, yes. The living and the dead are in an active relationship, and what you do now still matters to someone on the other side. This is why souls ask Dante to carry messages back. He is alive, the only living person in the comedy, and every soul with unfinished business with the living presses a request on him. Tell my son, tell my city, tell my family to pray for me. He is a messenger between 2 worlds that have not finished their conversation. 7 centuries later, the theology has shifted for most people. The medieval framework of purgatorial time and intercessory prayer is not how most people think about death, but the structure underneath it has not changed. The question of whether remembering someone, actively, not just sentimentally, does something beyond comfort, the living has never been answered and never disappears. Dante's answer is architectural. He built a place where the answer is yes, where memory has weight, where grief does something. Whether you call it prayer, or keeping someone alive in how you live, or carrying forward what they gave you, the structure is the same. What you do now still reaches somewhere. As Dante approaches the summit, Virgil begins to change. Through the entire Inferno, he was authoritative. He knew every circle, every gate, every soul. In Purgatorio, he hesitates. He asks other souls for directions. He answers Dante's deeper questions with growing uncertainty. He has never been here. His confidence was always borrowed knowledge, and the debt is coming due. Virgil's authority in hell came from having written about the underworld. The Aeneid mapped it, so he understood its logic. Purgatorio is a Christian space built on grace, which sits entirely outside pagan philosophy. Every step upward narrows what he can explain. Neither he nor Dante says anything about it, but it is happening, and we can see it. On the mountain, Virgil gives a long speech on the nature of love, how it moves the soul, how it can be distorted, why it is the source of both virtue and sin. It is one of the most philosophically complete passages in the comedy, and Virgil ends it by saying, "Beyond this, I cannot go. Reason has edges. He has found them." Every time Dante asks a question that requires grace as an answer, Virgil defers. Wait for Beatrice. She will explain. He says it more than once. It is the first time in the poem Virgil has admitted a limit, and each time he says it, a little more of his authority drains away. At the summit, Virgil declares Dante free. His will has been purified by the journey. He can trust his own judgment now, follow his own instincts, without a guide to correct him. It is the highest compliment Virgil can give, and it is his farewell, though neither of them knows it yet. Then Beatrice arrives on a chariot, surrounded by angels, and Dante turns to tell Virgil what he is seeing. Virgil is not there. No farewell, no final speech, no moment of closure. He simply ceased to be present at the exact moment Dante no longer needed him. The poem gives him no goodbye. Dante weeps, more than anywhere else in the poem. He weeps for a guide who led him through hell and most of the way to heaven, who cannot follow him to where the journey ends. Beatrice rebukes him for the tears. There is more ahead, she says. But the grief is real, and the poem does not hide it. Every person has known a version of this. The teacher, the mentor, the person who carried you to a threshold you could not have reached alone, and who could not cross it with you. The limit of what they could give was not a failure. It was simply the edge of what they had, and it was enough to get you there. Reason takes you to the edge of what reason can reach, then something else has to carry you. Virgil always knew this. He told Dante early on that his guidance had a limit, that Beatrice would take over where he could not go. He accepted the arrangement. What he could not have prepared for was how it would feel when the limit arrived. Virgil was never going to make it to heaven. Dante knew this from Canto 4. He followed him anyway, through 33 cantos of hell and 33 of purgatory. And when the moment came, he still was not ready for it. Knowing how something ends does not make it easier when it ends. That is the quiet argument of Purgatorio. The guides who cannot go all the way still matter. The journey they made possible still happened. Virgil brought Dante to the garden at the top of the world. He walked every step. He gave everything he had. That he could not take the final one does not diminish what he gave. Beatrice is not gentle. She rebukes Dante immediately. For the years after her death, when he turned to other loves, other philosophies, other comforts, instead of holding to what she represented. This is not the Beatrice of the love poems. She is something harder and more demanding, and she holds him accountable before she leads him anywhere. The rebuke matters because of what Beatrice represents. She is not just a woman Dante loved. She is the figure through whom divine truth becomes visible to him. What Virgil called reason, Beatrice exceeds. When Dante turned away from her after her death, he was not just grieving badly. He was turning away from the direction of his own life. Dante confesses. In front of the angels, in front of the garden, he admits he turned away. He weeps, but Beatrice makes him say it clearly, not just feel it. The distinction between feeling remorse and naming what you did is, for Dante, the difference between sentimentality and actual change. Dante drinks from 2 rivers in the garden. Lethe erases the memory of sin, not the sin itself, but the weight it leaves on everything you touch. Juno restores the memory of every good thing done. He emerges carrying what he built, without the gravity of what he destroyed. The mountain has done its work. The Purgatorio ends with the word stelle, stars, as every canticle does. But these stars are different from the ones at the end of the Inferno. Those were relief. These are readiness. Next episode, Paradiso. Beatrice takes over as guide. The poem that began in a dark wood arrives at last at the place it was always going.
Thank you for watching. If this video brought you any value, please consider subscribing and leaving a like. For more content like this, hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. See you next time.